Ngozi was her family's dream. Growing up in Enugu, every naira, every prayer, every sacrifice her parents made, was for her education. "Our hope, our future," her dad would say, his calloused hands emphasizing his words. When the University of Ibadan admission letter arrived, it wasn't just Ngozi celebrating. It was the entire family. Their prayers had been answered. The night before she left, her parents gave her the talk. "Remember who you are, Ngozi," her mom pleaded, tears in her eyes. "The world out there, it can be dangerous. Stay focused." Her dad added, "No bad company. Make us proud, not ashamed. Your success is our success." Ngozi promised. She promised everything. She had no idea the cost of that promise. University of Ibadan was a whirlwind. New faces, freedom, a whole new world. Ngozi, fresh from Enugu, found herself a bit overwhelmed but determined. She studied hard, just like she'd promised. Then she met Chioma. Chioma was everything Ngozi wasn't. Effortlessly stylish, always laughing, surrounded by friends and the latest gadgets. Her clothes were designer, her phone the newest iPhone. While Ngozi struggled with her allowance, Chioma seemed to have an endless supply of cash. "How do you do it?" Ngozi once asked, her envy a bitter taste in her mouth. Chioma just winked. "Connections, my dear. Connections." Ngozi couldn't help but feel a pang of longing for that easy life, so different from her own careful existence. And then, straight into the temptation to build that immediate conflict. One afternoon, Ngozi overheard Chioma talking on the phone, lowering her voice but not quite enough. "Brand ambassador? High-paying, easy work in Lagos. Just for a weekend." The words hit Ngozi like a jolt. High-paying, easy, Lagos. Her mind raced. Her family's struggles, her own constant worry about money. This sounded like an answer. Later, she cautiously brought it up with Chioma. "That brand ambassador job. What is it, really?" Chioma grinned, her eyes sparkling. "Oh, it's nothing, really. Just charming rich men at events. You look pretty, you laugh at their jokes, they give you serious cash. Like, more than you've ever seen, Ngozi. Think of what you could do for your family with that kind of money." Ngozi's heart hammered. A voice in her head screamed no. It was her mother's warning, her father's pride. But another voice, louder, more insistent, whispered about new clothes, textbooks for her siblings, easing her parents' burden. Chioma pressed. "Come on, Ngozi. Just one weekend. No harm in it. Everyone does it." The temptation was a fierce, burning fire, and Ngozi felt herself wavering, the strict lines of her upbringing blurring under the promise of untold wealth. The decision gnawed at Ngozi, but the lure of easy money ultimately won. She told her parents she was attending a student leadership retreat in Lagos. The bus ride was luxurious, far better than the cramped public transport she was used to. In Lagos, a sleek car whisked her and Chioma to a posh hotel, a place of gleaming marble and hushed opulence. This was a world away from Enugu, a world she craved. Initial briefings were vague: meet important people, make connections, represent the brand well. An older woman, impeccably dressed, gave them an approving once-over. Ngozi felt a growing unease, a cold knot forming in her stomach, but the sheer glamour of it all, the promise of the money, pushed her doubts aside. She told herself it was just an event, just networking. The event was a blur of flashing lights, loud music, and expensive perfumes. Ngozi, dressed in a borrowed gown Chioma insisted she wear, felt out of place yet oddly powerful. Then, A man approached her. Chief Obinna. He was older, his eyes sharp and assessing. He smiled, a practiced, unsettling smile, and then his request came, quiet and direct, laced with an offer of a sum that made Ngozi's head spin. It was clear, unmistakable. Not brand ambassador work. A desperate struggle erupted inside her. Her mother's face flashed before her eyes. Her father's warnings echoed. Shame, fear, disgust warred with the staggering figure Chief Obinna had named. The money, enough to solve so many problems. Enough to lift her family. Her resolve crumbled. With a trembling voice, a single tear escaping her eye, Ngozi gave in. The next morning, an envelope containing crisp, new Naira notes was slipped under her hotel room door. It was more money than she had ever seen. The weight of it felt both liberating and crushing. Back at the University of Ibadan, Ngozi's transformation was immediate. New clothes, a smartphone, lavish meals, always picking up the tab. Chioma looked on, approvingly. Ngozi even sent a substantial sum home, claiming she'd won a university grant. Her parents were overjoyed. On campus, whispers followed her. Where did Ngozi get all that money? She's always with Chioma now. Some admired, some envied, some just wondered. Ngozi tried to ignore them, burying the memory of that night under layers of new possessions and forced smiles. It started subtly. A strange, excessive bleeding. At first, she dismissed it as a particularly bad menstrual cycle. But it continued, day after day, heavier than anything she'd ever experienced. Panic began to set in. She visited the campus clinic twice. The doctors looked confused, prescribed generic medication, but nothing worked. The bleeding persisted, relentless and terrifying. Her condition worsened rapidly. The constant blood loss left her weak, dizzy, and constantly exhausted. Her vibrant new life drained away. She couldn't focus on her studies, missed classes, and started isolating herself. The whispers on campus changed from envy to concern, then to avoidance. Her friends, even Chioma, kept their distance, uncomfortable with her mysterious illness. The shame of her secret, coupled with her physical deterioration, plunged her into a deep despair. Finally, unable to cope, barely able to stand, she made the agonizing decision to return home to Enugu. Her parents were aghast. The vibrant daughter they sent to university returned a pale, weak shadow of herself, constantly bleeding. Fear gripped their hearts. They rushed her from one hospital to another in Enugu, then to other cities. Doctors ran tests, shook their heads, and offered no real diagnosis, only temporary solutions that failed. They visited prayer houses, traditional healers, desperate for an answer, a cure. But Ngozi's affliction remained, a relentless curse. One evening, a family friend suggested Pastor Michael, a man known for his spiritual insight. Exhausted but desperate, Ngozi agreed. Pastor Michael was different. He listened patiently to her parents' pleas, then turned his gaze directly to Ngozi, his eyes kind but piercing. "My child," he said softly, "there is a spiritual root to this. You carry a burden. You must unburden your heart completely. Tell the truth. God already knows it." His words broke through Ngozi's hardened defenses. The shame, the guilt, the fear, it all poured out. Trembling, tears streaming down her face, she confessed everything. The brand ambassador job, Chief Obinna, the money, the secret. Her parents listened, their faces a mix of horror and heartbreak. Her confession hung heavy in the air. Her mother wailed. Her father looked utterly devastated, his dreams for her shattered. The immediate pain was immense, a betrayal of everything they stood for. In their shock and grief, they demanded to know about Chioma. Frantic, they tried to reach Chioma. Days later, they finally tracked her down. When confronted, Chioma's face was a mask of innocence. Ngozi, Lagos, brand ambassador? I have no idea what you're talking about. She must be confused from her illness. She denied everything, perfectly. The betrayal stung Ngozi more than any physical pain, a cruel confirmation of how deeply she had fallen. Ngozi's suffering continued, a visible punishment for her transgression. But this time, she wasn't alone. Her parents, despite their heartbreak, stood by her. They cried with her, prayed for her, nurtured her. Slowly, painstakingly, with their unwavering support and the pastor's guidance, Ngozi began to mend. The bleeding, which medical science couldn't stop, slowly, miraculously, began to subside. It was a long, agonizing recovery. She decided to drop out of university for a year, needing time to heal, physically and spiritually. During that year, deep repentance settled in her heart. She understood the true cost of her choices. Ngozi learned a harsh, unforgettable lesson. Shortcuts often lead to the longest, most painful detours. The money she thought would save her family nearly destroyed her. The perpetrators, Chief Obinna and Chioma, remained unpunished, living their lives untouched by the wreckage they left behind. But Ngozi was not them. Healed, humbled, and forever changed, Ngozi knew she couldn't go back to who she was. She had to forge a new path, one built on integrity and hard work. Her purpose now was clear, a calling born from pain. She would return to Ibadan, not just for a degree, but with a new mission. This was the end of one chapter, and the difficult, purposeful beginning of another.